It's the 4th of January in the United Kingdom, and it's a day really like any other. Everyone gets up, preps for their jobs, and forgets there's a train strike happening so they can't get to work anyway. But something else is brewing today. New guy in the chair, Rishi Sunak, is making his first ever speech as Prime Minister. And in a time of nationwide crisis and uproar, he chooses to change the course of the creative industry and the creative world.
Building a better future for our children. Just imagine what greater numeracy will unlock for people. All children studying some form of maths to 18. Letting our children out into that world without those skills is letting our children down.
Yeah, what an absolute load of shit. If it wasn't already obvious, our government isn't exactly a fan of the creative arts. And their method of attack is always towards the schools, the root of the creativity. Take the English baccalaureate as an example, an extra special qualification where you'd essentially take part in any subject that wasn't art.
The proposal by this government to make EBAC a compulsory measure for all schools without expressive arts in it, I could not support were I English, and I'm not.
Unfortunately, I am, though. Or how about the £270 million promised in their election manifesto towards creative education that just suddenly went missing? Who was the Chancellor who made these cuts? Oh yeah, our current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. And on January 4th, he took his next step at stamping out the creative arts, making maths mandatory for all children up to the age of 18. Which went down well.
Everything's in crisis.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, let's give you some algebra.
Yeah. It's asking for a smack in the chops, isn't it? Making a speech today. Political.
What a prick. What about arts and humanities and fostering this country's amazing reputation for creativity and self-expression?
And Simon's got a point. It might seem like a stretch to say a maths policy is an attack on creativity, but it is. And that's not something to take lightly. Creativity is something our country has a great history and reputation for.
Ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to an extremely brief elaboration of the history of the creative arts exclusively in the UK. And we begin, where else but in London, under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, where wannabe playwright Billy Shakespeare proceeds on fulfilling his dreams by ruining English GCSEs for future generations. It is vital to mention the stratospherically significant impact he forged upon the English Renaissance art movement that was occurring at the time, or by transfiguring the English language by writing his stories where the main character dies at the end. Spoiler alert. Let us fast forward approximately 3 centuries upon the genesis of a new prolific art form, the motion picture. Cinema was born, and arguably the UK's first contribution to the golden age of Hollywood was Charlie Chaplin, voted the nicest guy with that type of moustache of the 20th century. Chaplin would direct, produce, write, star, and even compose his films and certify himself as one of the film industry's most important figures. And I'd say making a name for himself by revolutionising the comedy genre, even though his mum's committed to a mental asylum, was pretty bold of him. I don't know why about his mother. Wikipedia was pretty broad on that. But that's not all! Sure, the UK giving the world prolific directors is something to be grateful for. It'll be treason if we were not to recall the British invasion! And I'm not referring to any of the invasions our ancestors did in the past in every country in the world. No, I'm referring to this! Historians classify the Beatles' first land in America as part of their 1964 World Tour as what initiated the cultural movement retroactively named the British Invasion, where American audiences will become obsessed with rock and roll music by a bunch of English bands made up of 20-year-olds, long-haired, stoned-out boys. But that's not all! The 1960s also saw the rise of popularity towards British television, before it all went to shit 50 years later. One iconic show debuted in 1963 with the first ever episode of Doctor Who airing on TV. Now starring the now considered British icon William Hartnell as the titular role, the show would continue to air up until 1996 with the TV movie and would resume broadcast in 2005. Ultimately, nearly 20 actors have had the privilege to portray the titular character following Hartnell's tenure. That includes, in chronological order, John Pertwee. Man, best of luck, mate. Now, as much as I would love to elaborate on video games as well as the historical architecture of the UK, we unfortunately have to acknowledge the elephant of the room. this guy, who, because of his proclamation for it to be mandatory for all kids to learn maths up until the age of 18, is threatening the future of the creative industry, as he states that the fact that we do not submit to this rule, we are letting our children down. Now, not only do we as film students believe this to be utter bollocks, so does the general public, who we have asked to elaborate their diverse thoughts on this matter.
And where better to ask than the UK creative capital, Liverpool, the home of... Oh wait, no, we can't afford to go there. Oh well, let's go to London instead. You see, I had a little trick up my sleeve to test whether we really needed more maths.
Numbers.
And I'm sure the people of the capital will have plenty to say about this. Well, if they actually wanted to talk to us, that is.
Oh, we're doing a documentary about like the creative work sector and creative industries. You interested in that at all?
Ooh, I don't know much, to be fair.
That's all right. You got a moment? No, it doesn't. That's fine. Well, what about you? You want to talk?
Yeah, talking.
If you'd like to be in it, that's fine. But...
Oh no, probably not.
Okay, that's all right.
Being nosy.
What are your thoughts on the government? Sir, what about you? Do you know composite functions? Thank you.
Eventually, we found some willing Londoners.
I work in technology now.
So I see.
Very different.
Bit of a next job could be in cyber sort of moment, but yeah.
Yeah.
The creative industries doesn't just apply to film and music and art and literature. Anything can be creative.
I feel like everyone has different skills, you know, and to try and, I mean, as important as maths is, because I do think maths is important, I don't think that you should be forced into doing it sort of beyond 16 years old.
It also depends on having a government that's willing to promote the arts as well, and I'm not sure if we have that today.
No? Even after they bring in, even after the arts brings in so much to the country, in terms of revenue, in terms of money, in terms of publicity.
Well, look at Rishi Sunak, right? He's an investment banker, so he's not the kind of person that recognises the value of the arts.
Do you think that's motivated the shift towards maths in any way?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think there's a political agenda for sure.
And then I decided to bring out the real questions.
Have you done your GCSE, like GCSE maths and all that?
I did GCSE maths, yeah. Passed first time.
Oh, brilliant. So you might recognise something like this.
I gave them a GCSE question to start off with, which they answered pretty flawlessly.
12 and the biggest would be 3/4.
Absolutely perfect. Perfect. Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. No. I mean, that was done and dusted pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You clearly got the numeracy skills like everyone needs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say they're fairly basic, but yeah, I definitely have like basic numerical skills, I'd say.
Then I gave them an A-level one to see if they could handle the jump.
Okay. I think what you can tell here is that I'm not equipped. Having not done A-level maths, I'm not equipped to do this. But
The jump is quite big, and it's same marks, same amount of time allotted in the exam.
Yeah.
And this is an opener question to an exam paper. Do you think you could answer that?
No.
Nope. And you say you work in?
I work in tech. It's not a technical role, but I work in tech.
I see.
Yeah, I work for a software company. But yeah, I would have absolutely no idea how to answer that question.
None of them answered it. So what about outside of London?
That's 75. That's 20. That one's 35. That one's 50.
The chaos we've created here. Here's an average question from a paper you take up until 18.
Oh, fuck that noise.
Okay, no luck there. What about my friend Saskia? She works in the industry.
No.
Nobody could answer the A-level question. And do they need to? A question like that has no value in wider life. So what even is this policy for? If maths until 18 is supposed to prepare us for a data-driven world, but the guys in tech don't need to answer it, why do we need to do it? Look, I don't think this move is going to kill the creative sector. It's a field that thrives in adversity. But cutting down a £100 billion industry for your personal agenda? He knows the problem lies elsewhere. In fact, I'll let him say it.
Improving education is the closest thing to a silver bullet there is.
Yep, couldn't have said it better myself.